Dream told me the plan and I say I'm with it. We jumped in the car and went straight to the riches. Yeah, we went straight to the riches. He told me this one gon' bust both of our wrists. I told him he playing, he says no gimmicks. I told him let's get it, I told him let's get it like.
Yo, Gengi, we gonna start some new shit. I found this new shit. Savages from the 6. We gonna do Bizz first. For me, we got some new docs for me. Let me know if y'all fucking with them. If y'all want me to continue to keep doing them, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and enjoy, Gengi. Let's get it.
Ride around with a 6 on you, got a sick lawyer on speed dial. Legal aid never did shit, I got 9 years at pre-trial. Store taking notes
All
from
that money be
teachers.
irrelevant when there's cold blood sitting in your veins. There ain't no love when you in the game. I done grown up, but I'll never change. Learning the rules like a shorty on split.
Egg West crit, ride for the fam, I don't beg frack. Back on the roads, free the dogs. I was locked in my cell, reading songs. My host left saying.
This is 29-year-old Brian Harrington, better known as Bizz. He's been referred to as Toronto's scariest rapper, hailing from the Dufferin and Eglinton Avenue West area, and is a longtime member of EWC, or the Eglinton West Crips. He's also the co-founder of Real Recognize Real Records, which he and his friend G Chili created in early 2018. But Bizz started making noise in the rap scene a couple years before that, in November of 2016, when he made his first YouTube appearance in Hype Freestyle, which was filmed outside of a halfway house in Ottawa while he was on parole. His second music video was Look At Me, and this one was filmed out west while he claims he was trapping. Once Bizz was legally allowed to return to Toronto, he dropped his third video, which was Ergod. This song instantly went viral, and to this day, it's his highest viewed song on YouTube, and the most notable. After releasing that, he would follow up with Dark Side, Set Tripping, and then a feature on Trappin'. Bizz maintained his buzz by following up with several more tracks, and started to be noticed by a few big names. He caught the eye of Drake, who saw a bottle of his branded liquor, Virginia Black, in the Dark Side music video. He invited Bizz to a halftime lounge party at a Raptors game, and he also said that he was contacted by Tory Lanez, Casanova, and even The Weeknd's manager. He was making major strides in his rap career, and consistently growing his fan base. It's unfortunate, but Bizz is another rapper who can't decide between the streets or music, and tries to balance the two, which rarely works out for anyone. He was recently arrested in October of 2020 for what's apparently a gun charge, along with probation violations, and there's no word on when he's getting out. But this recent arrest definitely isn't Bizz first time getting locked up. He has a long rap sheet dating back over a decade, and was involved in a few separate incidents. He's one of the only rappers that's ever made a diss track against a jail, so it's clear that the two have history. All that will be explored in this episode of Savages from the 6, where we'll take a look at Eglinton Avenue West, Bizz. So Bizz is from a section of Eglinton Avenue West known as Little Jamaica, which is in the York region of Toronto. This strip has seen countless shootings and homicides over the last couple decades. Most recently, 6 people were shot outside of a bakery near Eglinton and Oakwood in September. Bizz ended up being part of the Eglinton West Crips, a gang that derived from an earlier group called the Front Page Gangsters, which was formed by high school friends back in the mid-1990s. The gang's turf is a long stretch of Eglinton Avenue, from Keele Street east to Oakwood and the surrounding areas. Their main rivals are the Vaughan Road Bloods, with several murders being connected to this classic Bloods vs Crips feud. Most gang members with 10 plus years of experience will likely have had some run-ins with police along the way, and Bizz was no exception. He's been involved in a few different cases and even spent a long period of time behind bars too. But before we dive into the murky stuff, let's take a brief look at Bizz upbringing so we can understand where he's coming from. Thanks to in-depth interviews by Cash Feelings, We Love Hip Hop Network, and Macadelic, you can get a picture of Bizz story, and a good deal of information used in this video was pulled from them. I'll include a link down below for anyone interested in watching them. For now, I'll try to summarize it. Bizz refers to himself as the good kid who turned evil, and said that Eglinton Avenue West was responsible. He described his past self as being well behaved, and that his mom raised him to have manners. But as he approached his adolescent years, Bizz began to change. He started getting into trouble in school, and was coming home late at night, and it quickly became too much for his mom to handle. She decided that young Bizz needed a behavior reform. So when he was in the 4th grade, at the age of around 9 or so, his mother sent him thousands of miles away, to Trinidad, where he would live with his aunt. His mom was hoping that a fresh start and change of scenery would help straighten out her son. Fast forward a couple years, Bizz eventually returned to Canada and was enrolled back in school, now in the 6th grade. It turns out his mom's plan worked, because Bizz said when he came back, his behavior was better. He managed to stay out of trouble, at least for a while, but he explained the transition back as being different. The same friends who were playing games like cops and robbers for fun were now throwing rocks through windows and getting into more trouble than just petty mischief. When he wasn't in the streets and was in class, he was getting suspended on a regular basis until he was eventually kicked out. When Bizz was in his mid-teens, around 2007, he got expelled from his high school, but was later enrolled into what they call the School of Last Chance. This was a school where expelled students from all over the city were given another opportunity to earn credits. This was an environment where gangs were openly recognized. Teachers would collect students' bandanas every morning and then return them at the end of the day. I'm assuming Bizz was a full-fledged gang member at this point, since the article mentioned some students wearing EWC sweatshirts and doing all their projects on blue paper. I don't know if he graduated or not, but it's reported that he did stints in juvenile detention, so bouncing between that and school can make it tough to stay motivated. Soon enough, Bizz found a new passion, other than the color blue: rap. He recalls his first memories rapping when he was around 16 or so, when he and his friends would often get drunk and freestyle in building staircases.
You know those staircases that you would go walk through and you see blunt trash on the floor and shit? Yeah. That was us. Yeah.
He was really pushed to take rap seriously by an older man in the neighborhood who goes by G Chili, a man who is well respected and considered an OG. He was financially well off and acted as inspiration for Bizz and other men who came from the same place. G Chili owned a clothing shop on Eglinton Avenue, and in the basement was a recording studio. Sometimes Bizz and his friends would go down and freestyle, and an engineer would put together different snippets and make a complete track. This was Bizz first taste of studio recording, and his first song was with G Chili, followed by a feature on his mixtape. Another person who influenced Bizz was a local rapper named C Flows, who he said was one of the first ones from his neighborhood to start filming rap videos and taking music seriously. Ultimately, one of the key factors in Bizz music journey was jail. While inside, he would rap with other inmates out of boredom, and his passion began to develop further. But being in that type of environment, there's a lot of distractions that can make it hard to focus. It wasn't until he was thrown into the hole, or solitary confinement, that he actually started writing music. While inmates are in the hole, they can't take items into their cell, so Bizz said that he snuck in a pencil by hiding it in his cheek, and used it to write lyrics on the wall. He said one day he performed live for inmates, some of them serving life sentences, and claims that a few men were left teary-eyed after hearing Bizz rap about their mutual struggle. Once he was released from jail, he had a bunch of written material and also a newfound motivation to pursue rap. At this point, some of you may be wondering, what was he in jail for in the first place? It was the result of an incident that happened in the year 2009, and it would be Bizz first adult run-in with police. But before we get to that, I want to quickly mention something impactful that Bizz experienced the year before that, in 2008. He was with his close friend, Stephen Barton, who was also an Egg West Crip member, moments before he was shot and killed. It happened at a bus stop around Keele and Eglinton on the afternoon of September 9th, 2008. Seeing something like that could understandably have some effect on a young mind. After losing his friend, it was about a year later when Bizz would commit his first major criminal offense. The story begins in the midnight of August 14th, 2009. A man named Mikey George was in his apartment, located on top of a store at 1692 Eglinton Avenue West. It was around 2 a.m., and Mikey was home with his roommate, sipping on Old English liquor. After he drank a good portion of the 40-ounce bottle, he decided he wanted to call his girlfriend. He left his apartment tipsy and walked down the street to a payphone, which wasn't too far away. He picked up the phone and dialed in the number, when suddenly he heard someone approach from behind him. He turned around and saw 3 unmasked males, one of them demanding he hand over his watch and hat, while another one asked where he was from. He gave them his belongings and revealed where he lived. A car that was driving by distracted the robbers for a second, and Mikey saw it as a chance to escape. He ran towards the entrance of his apartment, but the perps were in close pursuit. He managed to get inside and close the door, but before he could lock it, someone started pulling the door open. There was a brief tug of war before he saw one of the men reach into his waistband and pull out a gun, at which point Mikey stopped resisting and let them open the door. Once inside the confined entrance area, all 3 suspects kicked, punched, and pistol whipped Mikey. They continued to beat him and wanted him to give up anything else he had, so he gave them $60. They then dragged him upstairs and into his apartment. Once inside, they asked Mikey which room was his. He wasn't really talking, so one of them kicked in a random bedroom door, but no one was inside. Mikey screamed for help, trying to get the attention of his roommate, who was in another room with the door closed. He told his roommate to call the police, which spooked the robbers. All three of them ran down the stairs and left the way they came. Mikey was still in his apartment, now banging on his roommate's door, when one of the robbers returned. It was the one who was armed, and without words, he shot Mikey once through the abdomen. The gunman fled, and Mikey...
He had to. He had to, bro. He had to, gang. You gonna let him call the cops, bro? I probably wouldn't kill him, but I'll tell him, like, yo, bro, take this, bro. Bam, take this Legos. You better not tell nobody or we coming after you, feel me? We know where you live, gang. You better not tell the cops, gang. Take this Legos. Feel me? Oh, man. I feel bad for the kid, though. He ain't really deserve it, though.
Armed, and without words, he shot Mikey once through the abdomen. The gunman fled, and Mikey, now panicked, applied pressure to his wound by wrapping a t-shirt around it. He called 911, and once emergency crews arrived, he was transported to Sunnybrook Hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. 14 hours later, while Mikey was still recovering in the hospital, police began pressing him for details about what happened. They had Mikey give a video-recorded statement in which he provided his version of what happened, and also a description of the suspects. After hearing Mikey's story and details about the suspect's appearance, the police had a few potential names in mind. They arranged separate photo lineups for each three of the men they thought were involved and had Mikey look at them. He picked out the three individuals who he said were responsible for robbing and assaulting him that night. The first suspect was named Andrew Davis. The second was a young offender, listed only as AC. And the last, who Mikey claims was the shooter, was Brian Harrington, Bizz. All three of them were tracked down, arrested, and charged with robbery, break-and-enter, forcible confinement, assault with a weapon, and unlicensed possession of a firearm. After a couple years of preparation, the trial of Bizz and the two accused would begin in early June of 2011. The unidentified suspect, AC, ended up revealing a potential motive for the robbery. He said that the victim, Mikey, was wearing a red hat and a red shirt, and they thought he was affiliated with the Von Road Bloods. Long trial short, the victim Mikey being able to identify Bizz, along with what seems like his friend AC working against him, there was enough evidence for a conviction. He pled guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 9 years. He was given credit for time served while in pretrial custody, and altogether, he did 2/3 of his sentence, and spent about 6 years incarcerated. Documents stated AC was convicted in youth court, but it didn't mention for which charges, and Andrew was found guilty on 6 charges and also convicted, but he was in the free world around fall of October 2016, when he was arrested in connection to 2 bank robberies in the GTA. Anyways, after being locked up for 6 summers, Bizz was released in July of 2016. Months later in September is when he uploaded for the first time ever on YouTube, by dropping 4 tracks on the same day: So Gone Challenge, Perv and Swerve, Jersey Freestyle, and Do Time. Shortly after that, he appeared in his first music video, Hype Freestyle. All were quality songs, but went under the radar at the time. He started building traction a year later in July of 2017 when he dropped Look At Me, his trap house track. A month later in August is when he would release the track that evidently blew him up, God. Afterwards, he continued to drop music and grow his fan base in the city and worldwide. With his newfound success, he partnered with his longtime friend G Chili, and in early 2018, they created their label, Triple R Records. Things were starting to turn around for Bizz, and he was showing some dedication, but it was only temporary. When he wasn't in the studio, he was in the streets, and later that year, he got mixed up in a situation with police once again. It was the afternoon of May 2nd, 2018. A few police officers on bicycles were investigating a suspicious vehicle in the parking lot of the Monte Carlo Inn, a hotel located in Mississauga, around Dundas East and Wharton Way. Police report that this hotel is known for illegal activity, like drug dealing and sex trafficking, and so the officers confronted the vehicle. There were 3 people inside: 20-year-old Amber Roderick, 20-year-old August Ezekiel, and the last person was Bizz. They searched the car and found a loaded 9mm Luger handgun. In one of Bizz' interviews, he describes being arrested and said that he tried to run, but it was an industrial area and not much places to go and nowhere to hide. He went on a brief foot chase with police before being shot with a taser. He was also pepper sprayed before eventually being put into handcuffs. Bizz, along with the 2 females he was with, were charged with 6 firearms-related offenses. And like his previous crimes, he was once again facing 9 years. Having just launched a record label earlier that year, he found himself going through the familiar procedure of being booked into a police station. Bizz admits that he was stressed out and disappointed in himself, since he was just starting to build a successful life but was behind bars again. While awaiting trial, he spent 8 months in Maplehurst Correctional Complex in Milton. He notes that the jail experience was much different than it was before all the notoriety. Apparently back in the day, Bizz had more ops and got into fights on a regular basis, but now people weren't as hostile towards him. He called his time spent at Maplehurst quiet time, said that the inmates there respected him. People in jail would often ask Bizz to rap for them, but he refused, explaining that he doesn't rap on demand, especially for free. His success must have changed his demeanor, because during his first bids, it didn't seem like he had a problem performing for inmates on the house. He does mention you can win him over with some brew, which is basically rotting, decomposing fruit, but also jailhouse liquor. Although the inmates at the jail knew Bizz, most of the correctional officers didn't recognize him as a rapper. But things changed once he was kicked out of Maplehurst and transferred to the Toronto South Detention Center. He doesn't mention exactly why he was transferred, but it could have something to do with him being caught with ceramic blades, fentanyl, and weed, which also added more charges to his list. In the same incident where he was caught with contraband, Bizz claims he was jumped and badly beaten up by officers, leaving him hospitalized. Apparently, officers conducted a search of his cell early in the morning, and after finding the contraband, things became physical. He was thinking of having his lawyer open up a case against the police for use of excessive force, but decided not to pursue it. Once Bizz arrived at the South Detention Center, he said that now not only just the inmates knew him, but most of the officers as well. He claims one day, a person he believed to be the superintendent or warden of the jail was doing rounds when he recognized Bizz from his interview with We Love Hip Hop Network. He ended up being put on the same range as fellow Toronto rapper Killer the Crook, who previously appeared in that same interview alongside Bizz, and they also have a track together called Feedback. Another rapper in jail was Casper TNG, who was arrested after a high-speed chase through the city. Unlike Maplehurst, Bizz time spent at the South Detention Center was the opposite of quiet time. We can get a glimpse into his jail experience with a story he told on a video, Center Stage. One day, the 3 rappers, along with several other inmates, were having a party in one of their cells. They were drinking brew, freestyling, and started to get noisy, causing staff to notice them. A couple officers confronted Bizz and the others, and told them that there was too much people in one cell, and they needed to disperse. At first, the inmates refused, but once more staff and backup arrived, they eventually returned to their own cells. But Bizz started getting angry with one of the officers, who apparently tried to size him up. A sergeant on the scene who was familiar with Bizz was able to calm him down, and he agreed to go back into his cell. Once inside, one of the officers slammed the door behind him. Bizz saw that as disrespect and snapped, and was once again hostile. He started yelling at the officers while he took off his shirt and tightened his shoes, preparing for a fight. One of the officers noticed Bizz reach into his sock and take something out, which was assumed to be a shank. It was actually some type of contraband that he was handing to his cellmate to hide. All of the staff panicked and barricaded the outside of his cell with couches. Bizz said he saw an officer prepare to open the door, but he didn't follow through. I think the staff could tell that Bizz was intoxicated and ready for a fight, so they decided to wait it out. The next day, when the buzz wore off, Bizz, Killer the Crook, along with a few others involved, were sent to the hole, a rough place to spend a hangover. Thankfully for Bizz, while he stirred up trouble on the inside, his lawyers were working relentlessly on the outside. Taking a look at the case against them, it appeared that the police had no legal grounds to investigate the car that Bizz was in, but it turned out there was. The hotel where the car was parked, the Monte Carlo Inn, had a written contract with police that stated they were allowed to investigate any suspicious vehicle or persons on the premises to ensure they weren't trespassing. There was only one problem with the contract. It expired about a year prior to the incident, and it hadn't been renewed. This invalid contract basically dismantled the case against Bizz. The Crown was trying to pin the gun on him, and in a recorded phone call from jail, he claims they even tried to use his rap lyrics as evidence. He featured on a track called My Ends with Bizz, and he has a bar where he's
Yo, when I say luck, that is fucking lucky, bro. Like, God is definitely on your side.
says, this is basically the exact scenario of what happened when he was arrested. He had no valid license at the time. Police found a gun in the car, and he was with 2 women. He also rapped about having a Luger on his designer belt, and that was the same model of the gun that police found. The biggest coincidence of all was that this video was uploaded on the same day that Bizz was arrested, May 2nd, 2018, but he argued it was pre-recorded months prior. Although the lyrics seemed connected to the incident, the evidence didn't really have an effect in court. Without that valid contract with the hotel, the police didn't really have legal grounds to initially pull over the vehicle. So despite a gun being found, the Crown made the decision to forfeit the case during the pre-trial motions. Bizz had all the firearms charges withdrawn, but he pled guilty to obstruction of a peace officer for providing a fake name. With the time he received for that charge, along with the plea deal for the contraband charges he got as an inmate, he spent about 1 year and 1 month in jail. A short time after being released, in late June of 2019, he dropped the first 48, which went under the radar at the time, and most of his fans were still unaware he was even on road. He remained quiet for a few months, but he finally made it clear he was home when he dropped I'm Back Crody in October of 2019. Filmed outside of a prominent store on his turf of Eglinton Avenue West, this video made a much louder statement than his last, and featured a squad of masked members from his gang, all of them wearing mostly blue, pushing to give off an undeniable Crip vibe. The following years, he released tracks like Mode, Straight Bars, and Murder She Wrote. That brings us back to the present day. In the center stage video, Bizz claimed that after his 2018 arrest, he was focused on strictly music, and it appeared like he learned his lesson. But I don't think he was sincere, because he was arrested in October of 2020 for charges related to firearms yet again. The news came after he made a statement on his Instagram account, where he not only apologizes to fans for letting him down, but he also gives details about his arrest. Someone called the police about him breaching his probation conditions, and this person also revealed Bizz location, which was inside a club. The police—
Why people always be moving nasty, bro? That's the one thing I could say about Toronto. With the people inside they camps. It's always one. It's always one tattletale game.
Prepared for what he called a high-risk—
It gotta be one tattletale, bro. Look at this shit.
Someone called the police about him breaching his probation conditions.
How would somebody know that? Like, somebody next to him gotta know that shit.
And this person also revealed Bizz location, which was inside a club. The police prepared for what he called a high-risk takedown and ambushed him as he left the club. They allegedly found a gun in his waistband, which he was charged for. He doesn't go into the exact charges, but he said he probably won't be coming home anytime soon. Now that we're up to date with Bizz history, I wanted to address a recent allegation about him that I found online. I don't mean to taint Bizz name, I just wanted to try and clear up some rumors that were floating around. So I'm not sure if this was posted somewhere else before, but I first heard of this from a user on the Torontology Reddit. This user found a court document of a case involving Bizz and claimed it showed evidence of him snitching. This case has to do with the same incident I mentioned earlier, when Bizz saw his friend, Stephen Barton, shot to death in 2008. It's alleged that Bizz cooperated with authorities to have his friend's killer arrested. But before speculating more, let's take a closer look at the document. So basically it lists Bizz name, Brian Harrington, as a crown witness in the case, and notes that he testified. I think people hear the word crown witness and testify and are quick to assume that someone's a snitch. Fact of the matter is, it doesn't necessarily mean that. You can actually be subpoenaed to appear in court as a witness, meaning they are legally forcing you to show up and take the stand. And at the time of this trial, which was November 2010, Bizz was already incarcerated for shooting Mikey George. Already being in custody, it was simple to locate him and make him appear in court. So if he got a subpoena to appear as a crown witness, literally anything he said would count as him testifying in the case. Nowhere on the document does it state that Bizz named anyone or gave any details about the incident. As far as we know, he could have just said a bunch of nonsense, and it would be listed as him testifying. So basically my point is, the fact that it shows he testified doesn't automatically mean he's a snitch. These documents can be found on Canly if anyone is interested in having a deeper look and coming up with their own conclusion. But from what's on the documents, it doesn't look like he really provided any information, and it states that whatever he did say wasn't even used in the trial. With that out of the way, I wanted to end this video with a few positive things about Bizz. He made a track named Was It Worth It, which became the subject of a Toronto Star article. The song caught people by surprise because it was different than most of his others. It carries a positive message and encourages young men in the streets to think about their actions and the moves they make. The song also acts as a general tribute to many rappers in Toronto who have passed away due to gun violence over the years. He also collaborated with Bizz and Cash Feelings and hosted a backpack giveaway for the kids going back to school this year. And he created a non-profit organization named P2P, or Power to the People, that focuses on giving back to the youth. Bizz did more positive things for his community than most artists in the city, but still wants to see them succeed too. He said he's always willing to promote new rappers coming up, and even had an event called Who's Up Next, where he was giving away a verse to one lucky independent artist. Bizz is definitely a different type of rapper.
See, he's more of a businessman, you feel me? He's more of a businessman. He's willing to put people on, right? Put people on, feel me? He might find one, put them onto the records, right? Then he having events for upcoming rappers to put them on, feel me? So that they could broadcast their talent. He was moving like a businessman. He was just doing the wrong things. He ain't trying to go back, feel me? So when he get out, I feel like he gonna be on his business shit, feel me? He gonna be staying his business shit.
With an undeniable sense of authenticity. Unfortunately, being real comes with consequences when you're from the streets. He's currently in jail and there's not really telling when he'll be out. He recently dropped a tape, Body Bags But a Dozen Volume 1, and he noted on his Instagram post he has a bunch of other music on the way as well. So there should be enough content out to keep people tuning into BizzLoc for a while.
Yeah. When he get out, feel me, we gonna see. We gonna tap in, cause he fuck with the crook. I fuck with the crook. I ain't know the crook first name was Killer the Crook. I ain't know that one, feel me? But yo, let me know if y'all like this doc, feel me? Or if y'all got more docs for me, man. Or if y'all got other videos for me, just let me know, man. Oh, the history on the Toronto Driftwood Crips.
If I ask someone to think about
fucking lead, bro, this shit gets good, man. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, feel me? Just look out for the next video. Just hit the notification bell. I'm just keep dropping these shits. These shits get good. But yo, you already know the vibes. You give life a new meaning when you dream, and it's your boy Dream, and I'm out of here, gang.
Fake niggas, we don't do those. Fake niggas, we don't do those. Hardcore, weirdos, weird.